What's going on, guys? My name's Nate. This is a 10-foot box truck that I'm going to be converting into a camper van. I pulled down the roll-up door earlier today, so I have some open space to work with. So the next thing I need to do, frame that out, get a door on it. Before I do that, I want to frame the interior, put in a new floor, but before I do that, I need to replace this old vent with a window, and then also do a pass-through door here, so that way I know where to frame the walls, and then I can put up the insulation, do the floor, build the wall, put a door in. So I'm gonna build a window, and it's gonna be pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna pull this one off, and I have some plexiglass that I'm gonna screw in from the outside and then put a little trim around it. It's not gonna be able to open, it's just gonna be, you know, screwed to the wall. But with the vents and the door and the pass-through, there'll be plenty of ways to move air through the box truck. So I wasn't really concerned about doing that. This is just gonna be a very simple way of getting a window on there. I've got my plexiglass here, and this has some plastic on it. So once that's peeled off, this is clear, even though it doesn't look completely clear right now. It's got like a film on it. And I'm not even gonna cut it. I'm just gonna use that size to, I'm just gonna leave that size, make the window as big as that is. So I'm gonna put it up on here and mark the edge of it. So mark the size of the plexiglass on the wall, because I'm actually gonna need to make that hole bigger. Here's where I'm at. Drew a square, and I made sure this line was parallel with the ceiling, with the roof, because I of course don't want that to be at an angle once I throw up, you know, some cabinets and some paneling here. So this is squared with the ceiling, and then I marked 3/4 of an inch inside my box, and that's where we're gonna cut out, because I want that plexiglass to, of course, overlap the outside of the box truck, so that I can put butyl tape under there and seal it up really nice. And then on the inside, we'll be able to create a nice frame and it'll look really pretty. I don't know where to set my camera, but there it is. So I'm just pulling all the screws out, and then, yeah, you'll see. There it is. All right, let's get that cut out. I did not know that wasn't recording. I don't know how far back I need to go, but I'm cutting the hole now. Got the hole cut. There it is. But I measured wrong. So it still covers the whole thing, but there's gonna be less trim on the bottom and the top than I expected to. Which will be fine, because we'll still seal the bottom and the top. We just won't be able to put screws in it. The screws will just go on the sides. So that's a bummer, but oh well, it'll still work. I need to get a trim piece cut that's going to sit on the top of this, on the outside. So this will get attached on the outside, and then have a trim that sits on the edge, and then that'll get screwed in through the, I forget what this is called. It's like plastic glass, plexiglass. I don't know if it's actually plexiglass, but it's like an acrylic sheet. So it's bendable and it's not actually glass. Anyways, yeah, get a trim ring to sit on top of that, and then we'll need to sand it, paint it, and then just screw it in. That'll work great. And then we need to get a ring cut out, so it's just the trim piece. There it is. Got the trim piece cut out, sanded down really nice. So I need to paint it to seal it up, because it's going to be on the outside of the truck. Of course don't want any weather damage. And sit just like that. This, oh, that brush is very hard. That was not sealed. I have another one on hand, but it's this massive one. So I don't think this can will work, but I've got another one, so that's all right. This is going to be super overkill, but I'm opening up this gallon of paint for this tiny little trim piece. And I'll be using this same paint like when we put up the door and do other like trim work and things on the inside. Okay, this is obviously not a professional technique, but it's gonna work so good. We're running low on daylight, but we're gonna get it up. So I'm gonna peel. Might have to do it off camera. But I'm gonna peel the film off of one half of that and then line it with butyl tape. And this is like the same putty stuff that I use on the roof when I install vent fans and solar panels. And it's gonna give it a really good seal on the wall of the box truck. That way, you know, you don't have water and stuff getting in. So I'm just going to put a strip of that all the way around the edge. And then the trim is finishing drying, but we'll give that a couple more minutes and then just screw it in. All right, I changed my mind again. We've got the trim, we've got the glass, and you can see now it's actually transparent. So even though it's not actually glass, you know, it appears just like glass. I am gonna wait until tomorrow so we have some good light, and we'll get it up then. I'm back working in some daylight. So I've got my two pieces here, the trim with the plexiglass under it, and I realized that it'll be a lot easier to attach this if I pre-drill the holes. So I've taped the frame to the plexiglass, and I've already got the butyl tape on there. So I had to cover it back up with some plastic. But I'm gonna put 3 holes. We're only screwing in the sides since the top and the bottom we don't have enough room. So I'm gonna put 3 holes in each side, and then we'll be able to screw that in. We'll be ready to screw it in. Since I want these screws to sit inside the top, I forget the name of this technique, but basically I'm taking a bigger drill bit that's the size of the tops of my screws, and I'm just gonna go slightly beneath the face of the wood. That way the screw will sit under the face of it and I can putty it and then paint over it, and it'll look really clean. You won't be able to see the screws. I don't know why I'm using my impact drill for this, but it's fine. All right, so we've got our holes. Let's screw it in. I didn't really have anywhere to set the camera, but I got that screwed in. So the screws are set just slightly underneath the surface of the trim. So I'm gonna putty over them, and then we'll let that dry, sand it smooth, do another layer of paint, and also caulk around the edge of that to make sure it's completely sealed. And then we'll come in on the inside and throw another bead of caulk around the edge of that. That way, for sure, there's not going to be any water or, you know, moisture coming through there. Let's see if I can hold this and putty at the same time. Oh, you can see me. All right, so I've got this Drydex. This stuff is great. It's just I mean, it says right on it, hole filler, and it comes out pink, and then when it's ready to be sanded, you can tell because it's white. So I Just gonna squeeze a bunch on there. And then just make sure that hole is filled. Hindsight, I don't know if it was worth painting it ahead of time, but at least I know the wood is sealed up, like underneath and on the sides, the spots where it'd be harder to paint if I had waited to just paint completely once the trim was up. And some more on there. Just making sure that's pushed into the hole. And then the excess on top is not too much of a big deal. This does sand down pretty easy. Once the window is completely done, it'll have a white cover underneath it. Just like a little curtain. So it'll be pretty stealthy. It'll just look, this whole thing will just look white and kind of just match the outside of the box truck. Especially at night, I don't think you'll notice this at all, which is the goal. So get the other side puttied and then wait for that to dry, sand it down, and then be able to paint it, caulk around it, and we'll be good. While I was waiting for that putty to dry, I went ahead and filled that edge with silicone. So that's good and sealed up now. And you can also see that that putty is, I guess there's still a tiny bit of purple in there. I'm not too worried about it though, because that's pretty much dry. It's white. And just sand it down real lightly. And it comes out pretty nice. There we go. And I'll throw like I said, throw some more paint on there. But aside from that, that is good to go. So I think that came out pretty good. And like I was saying earlier, that'll have some type of white, like some type of curtain behind it. So looking from the outside, it'll just look white like the rest of the box truck, and hopefully have a pretty stealthy look to it, and not actually look like a window. So I think it turned out pretty good. Next thing we need to do is I need to get the inside framed out, get a floor in, get some insulation in, and then build the wall right here, get a door. So make sure to subscribe, follow along, let me know if you have any questions, and see you in the next one.